what's happened is that, let's say there's the soul, the new soul reincarnating, so the new Dalai Lama, if you like. Here's his spirit form and here's his material form. There are a group of spirits in the spirit world who are all the old Dalai Lamas, if you like, right? They're all spirits in the spirit world. What they do is they look for a person on earth who is mediumistic, who they can impress all of their memories and all of their feelings and everything upon over a period of time, usually the first 10 years of their life. So what they do is they impress upon each one, this soul, this new soul that they've found that's very impressionable, all of their memories and experiences and feelings and everything over that period of time. So this soul, by the time it's 10 to 15 years of age, is in a very highly developed natural love state, having received all of this help and assistance and memories of all of these different spirits, and they do that to continue the lineage of the Dalai Lama as a leader, a spiritual leader for the Tibetan people. And it's totally orchestrated by spirits in the spirit world.
Where are they in their development?
Many of these are in the 6th sphere, so they're in a very, very good natural love condition, perfect natural love condition. Yeah. And it's their way of impressing this natural love condition upon the earth. And they have a very, very strong desire to continue that process. Many of the Dalai Lamas historically have actually gotten onto the divine love path. And so they don't get involved in that process. It's only the ones that are still on the natural love path that are involved in that process.
But how can this be right when the soul, the physical person, is impacted in their free will?
Well, remember, when a child is a child, it's really impacted by the free will of its parents. So many of the parents have a desire in their heart for their child to be the next Dalai Lama, right? Well, naturally so, wouldn't you feel? Like it's a very sort of a natural desire in a way, and so they have a natural desire for them to be the next Dalai Lama, and so that creates a spiritual condition of openness in this child's soul that allows this influence to occur.
So is this a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, look, if we're talking about is it harmonious with divine love, no. Otherwise, these people wouldn't be in the 6th sphere; they would be in the celestial spheres, right? But is it harmonious with natural love? Yes. Totally harmonious with natural love.
Because they take the child to an environment that they can control so that it doesn't have to deal with the everyday ups and downs.
Yeah, their viewpoint is that they're actually protecting this child and nurturing this child the best they possibly know how, and this child will not have to experience many of the things that many Tibetan children do experience because of the influence of these. So they see it as a very loving act. Right? Not only a loving act for this child, but they also see it as a very loving act towards any person in the Buddhist faith, and even towards the world of mankind generally, because they're transmitting all of this natural love information through this person to the world, which is changing the world. Like the Dalai Lama has changed many people through their teachings, right? And so it has had a positive effect. So the way these spirits reason it is that we are having a positive effect on the earth. And this is happening, by the way, not just with the Dalai Lama. This is happening with hundreds of different spiritual gurus, particularly in the Indian ways, all through history. Yeah, happening constantly.
Attachment is probably one of the biggest misconceptions, would you say?
Yeah, well, the beauty of the Dalai Lama is that these spirits step back at a certain age. So they love the child, nurture them to a certain point, step back after that point. And many Dalai Lamas actually explain the experience of the stepping back. They can remember that experience. And the issue is with a lot of the other types of religious gurus who are being totally overcloaked is that the spirits never step back. And they are constantly operating through the individual every waking hour, or as many waking hours as they possibly can, without harming the person physically. And so, there are different things going on, but, I feel the way the Dalai Lama is being handled is a lot more loving, perhaps, than the way some others are being handled. Up the back, thanks.
Got all the Dalai Lamas there, and they're hanging out in the same space, and one pops upstairs and gets to the bigger, better place. Then why don't they follow and, like, you know, naturally wouldn't we want to get to an even better place, even if you're happy where you are, like always striving for a better place?
Can you imagine for a moment that you've had a certain religious belief all the time that you've had on the earth, you pass over in the spirit world, and that religious belief has helped you to get to the sixth sphere of the spirit world as well. So in other words, you've progressed through the spheres into the sixth sphere through this religious belief. Through, in your feelings, that's what you feel, through this religious belief. So you're now in this space where you actually feel totally and believe totally that your religious belief has been the instrumental thing that's actually gotten you to the condition of happiness that you feel you're in. How difficult is it going to be for you to give that up? Very difficult.
I imagine conditions are pretty good at the sixth sphere.
There are excellent conditions in the sixth sphere. You can create any reality you want through your desire. You're just not yet at a condition of one with God. You can create lots of different things in the sixth sphere. It's a beautiful place. Remember in the second channeling that Natalie did in the Udlo DVDs? Yeah. Remember how the spirit, what was her name? Lucinda described the sixth sphere? That it was like sideways movement through these different amazing experiences? Yeah. And a feeling she had of progressing, but then she realised after a while that it was all just experiencing the same thing in a different way. And that's what they feel in the sixth sphere. And so in the sixth sphere it is very, very hard for you to give up what got you there.
And she had to go back to the third sphere to progress.
She had to go back to the third and exercise a real humility.
That's a big give up.
That's a big give up. You're talking...
Do they have emotional garbage? Do they still have emotional stuff that they need to clear in order to move on beyond there? How does that work?
No, it's not so much emotional stuff, but there are some basic things that they are still needing to develop. One is being a seeker of truth. One is having complete humility. One is having the feeling of, what do you call it? The feeling of understanding that they have this... Many of them have suppressed their desire for God, right? They're in a perfect natural love condition, but suppressed desire for God. And they don't let that desire grow, because when that desire just grows a little bit, they feel dissatisfied, and they feel they're no longer perfect if they're dissatisfied, and so they don't let that desire grow. Does that make sense? Yes. And so there's a lot of limiting things that are occurring in the sixth sphere, not allowing a person to grow spiritually. And when they go back to the third, some of those get opened. The desire for God, for instance, gets opened. Is one of the things that get opened.
If they've gone through the development of all their emotions and have gone, you know, to get to the level of the sixth sphere,
yep.
Wouldn't that feeling of dissatisfaction, wouldn't that ring a bell, or wouldn't that kind of awaken them that, hang on, there is something... You
imagine you've got millions of things you can create and do for a moment. You just imagine that state. You can distract yourself with anything you want. You can create, you can even create planets, and you can create physical things, and you can do these amazing, amazing things, right? Imagine that for a moment. You can investigate anything intellectually that you want, and you can be fascinated for hundreds of years in one particular phase of investigation. Can you imagine how easy it is to be distracted from a little tiny feeling inside of you? Oh, that something might be missing here. Can you see that?
Yeah.
And that's how they feel.
And well, how would they feel towards the Dalai Lama that has moved on? Do they think that he was an error thinking?
There's a lot of different.
How would they think about?
There's a lot of different feelings they have. They feel sometimes that he betrayed the faith. So some of them feel like it's a betrayal of how they got there. So that there's got some of those kind of feelings.
What does he say? Oh, look, I'm moving on to bigger and better things, and they say there is no bigger or better things. They say they look at it intellectually. They say, oh no, it's just another thing of what we're doing. Do you know what I mean? They think it's the same sideways movement they've always done. So they don't see it as anything different. And they're happy enough doing what they're doing, and they don't allow themselves to feel a feeling of dissatisfaction. I've had times where I've spoken to sixth sphere spirits and they have moved on to the seventh sphere by going back to the third and then progressing. But only when I've connected them to their feeling of dissatisfaction in their relationship with God. And when I've connected them to that, that's when they've changed. But
But many of them tell me they're not dissatisfied at all with their relationship with God. They have a perfect relationship with God, right? But the feeling I'm getting from them is totally different. I can feel it. And I say to them, no. You let yourself be truthful here and feel that feeling that I can feel from you. You know, that feeling that's inside of you. There's this feeling of I'm not really, really content here.
Because you've put that there, sooner or later they will feel it.
Yep. It took like Socrates and Plato. It took them about nearly 100 years for them to actually, for that seed to be dropped into them before they actually changed. It took, both of those men are now celestial spirits, right? But it took them nearly 100 years from the time the Apostle John met them, because he's the person who met them. He dropped the seed into them that maybe you're dissatisfied, and it took them nearly 100 years of our time on earth before they got to that point where they recognised that dissatisfaction. Right? And once they recognised the dissatisfaction, they called John back to them again, and he explained to them what the dissatisfaction was all about. And they progressed very rapidly after that.